everybody, welcome back to Just Guitar Talk. It's good to see you on this Sunday. Got my guitarist mug here, my novelty mug, with some lovely espresso in there. And yeah, welcome back. And I want to talk about some guitars and amps today. And I want to talk about boutique guitars and amps. Oh boy. So I think it was about a week ago now, I was actually doing some guitar shopping, just cruising the guitar shops around town, and we went to a local place, Austin Guitar House, that deals specifically in boutique instruments like guitars, amps, and effects. And I'd been there before a while ago, and I had purchased my Ryra clone pedal from them. And of course, Ryra is a boutique clone company that makes clones of, very popular pedal circuits. And I got my clone from Austin Guitar House, and I got to try out some stuff there. And brought a friend there, and he had never been, and just wanted to check out the place. And they had some really, really good stuff in there. Now, what's great about those shops and those guitars is that they are so unique, just very, very, very unique. And they are also very, very, very expensive, but for good reason, And a lot of people struggle with price points on musical instruments. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about there. A lot of people will say, there's no point in spending that much money on a guitar. You could get just as good a guitar for much cheaper. That's all relative, really. Quality is, yes, you can get good quality instruments at low prices. You can get great quality instruments at very high prices. And what's a high price to somebody may not be that high to somebody else. And that's okay too. But as always with this channel, I really just want to convey my experience. Now, for most of my life, I've been playing, mid-price instruments. I haven't had anything that great. Of course, when I was a teenager, I was playing, an Epiphone, Les Paul, and a Mexican Strat, which were good instruments. Well, the Epiphone Les Pauls in the 90s weren't awesome, but the Mexican Strats have always been really, really good. And of course, I played a Peavey Bandit. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the Peavey Bandit. That's how we all cut our teeth on that amp. And and of course, my first multi-effects pedal was a Zoom. And so I was playing some, and for a long time I played very mid-priced guitars. I kind of graduated to a lower level Marshall amp. And an Ibanez guitar for a long time. And I didn't get my first really expensive guitar until I was in my 30s. I got a Paul Reed Smith 25th anniversary Swamp Ash Special with the narrow field pickups. And now I know Paul Reed Smith isn't a boutique company, but they're kind of unique in the sense that they are a very large company that's almost run in the similar manner as a boutique company, in the way they really pay attention to the quality of their instruments. And it seems like a small boutique company, but of course very large. And now they make all kinds of instruments over many price points. But anyways, I got it used, so the price was pretty good. It was around, I think used, it was around $1,600, $1,700, whereas brand new, it would have retailed for over almost $2,500. And you can still see them used on Reverb now going for around $2,500 or around the $2,000 mark. And this was my first experience with something, on a boutique level. And I tell you what, it was just, it was incredible. I'd never played an instrument like that before, where such care had gone into the making of it. The wood selected was top notch. The wiring of the pickups, everything about it was so well thought out. And that was, it was kind of life-changing gear-wise, because it was very hard to go back to something of lesser quality after that. You know, I have some guitars that are, I don't have that Paul Reed Smith anymore. I had to get rid of it. And I regret that. That's my biggest regret of any guitar I've ever sold. And I've sold pretty much all of them, you know, or traded, or, you know, whatever, you know, sold to fund another purchase. I regret that one the most, for sure, just because it was great. You know, I didn't play it a lot, and I didn't really have a use for it. And I think I needed the money at the time, you know, so whatever the reason, but it was just incredible quality. And it was very hard to go back to something that wasn't of the same quality. You know, but I love the guitars that I have now. I think they're tremendous quality. They're not, my Washburn is on the inexpensive side. I put some work into it, you know, and anything that I have that's inexpensive, I've definitely modded and put some money into it to make it pretty good, you know, but they're not boutique instruments. And so just to tell you some of the boutique instruments that I have played and I've been really impressed with, I've got a chance to play some Tom Anderson instruments at the Mesa Boogie store in Hollywood on Sunset. And I loved those guitars. They're really funky looking guitars. And you know, that was the first noiseless single coil that I played. It was one in a guitar they had there, and it sounded fantastic. In San Francisco, at the old music, there was an old guitar store on Haight-Ashbury. I think it was called Haight-Ashbury Music or something. And they stocked Stewart guitars. And those are very cool, very, very cool. Being a Strat guy myself, I love to play, you know, all the different, you know, S-type guitars by these boutique builders, and I quite like them a bit. But I want to talk about the guitars that I played this past weekend, and the amps as well, that just really blew my mind. So, you know, my friend that I was, you know, hitting the guitar shops with, he told me about Nash guitars. Bill Nash is a boutique builder that does some kind of Fender style guitars, and he wanted to play the Jazzmaster Nash guitar, and we went there, and man, he started playing that Nash Jazzmaster, and it sounded fantastic. And I gave it a go, and I couldn't believe how light it was. Incredibly light, just featherweight, man. It was incredible. And the pickups were great. I mostly hung out on the neck pickup, as I normally do, and these were Lollar pickups as well. And these are, again, a boutique company. I had never tried Lollar pickups before, and I'd always read about them, read great reviews, watched tons of YouTube videos, but now, oh man, after playing those, it was, you know, it was great. I don't know if I could ever go back to playing non-hum canceling single coils though, even though it did sound fantastic. Just the noise really bothers me, and it kind of gets in the way of my playing. There's a lot of boutique builders out there that do have great hum canceling pickups. Lindy Fralin is one of them. I'm gonna do a little plug to Lindy Fralin right here. Man, love those pickups in my Gibson Les Paul 60s Tribute right there. Fantastic, another boutique builder. And so we played some Nash guitars, and those were really good. I played the Nash Strat type guitar as well. And I also got a chance to plug into an amp that I was reading about. It was called a Silktone amplifier. And the Silktone was a 12-watt single end amplifier with a KT66 tube. Now, I love KT66 tubes, and I originally found out that I liked them by messing around with different, you know, profiling amplifiers that emulated different tubes, EL84, 6L6, all of them such, and I really gravitated towards the KT88 or KT66 style tubes, and I got a chance to play the Blackstar Studio 10, which had a KT88 in it. I really liked that. But this time I tried the Silktone KT66 amplifier, and it was beautiful. It just, all the pickups, the guitar really just shone through, and it was great. And you can really hear and feel the quality of these instruments. Now that amplifier was like $2,200 and the guitar was like $2,400. That's almost $5 grand for a guitar and amplifier, which is a lot of money, you know, depending on who, you know, no matter who you are, that's a good chunk of cash. Is it worth it? Well, that really depends, you know. It could, because tone is in the ear of the beholder, you know. There's a lot of people who, you know, are just tone chasers. And I tell you what, the amount of love in these instruments really shows. You know, can you get a great guitar from Fender for $1,000? Of course you can. Fender makes amazing guitars at any price point. Can you get a good amp from Fender for $500? Yes, you can. You know, I just got the Fender GTX 100. I love it. You know, and even for $1,000, which is still pretty expensive, you can get a great sounding amplifier, and you can get great instruments for half the price of, you know, what that stuff costs. But it's not going to be the same. Can you get a great bureau from Crate and Barrel? Of course you can. They make great quality products, but it's not going to be the same as a, you know, handmade bureau that you get from the Amish country. You know, it's just not. You know, these things are made by small companies. Well, not the Amish country, but, you know, these boutique builders, they're made by small companies with people who are building it all by hand, putting, you know, selecting the woods, really paying attention to the wood selection, to the process of getting the moisture out of the wood, and picking very resonant materials, and wiring done by hand, all this done by hand. It's just, you know, you can't compare the two. You really can't compare the two, you know, and with other products, you know, Fender, Gibson, all the big ones, you're gonna get great guitars, but they're mass produced. You know, they are just mass produced, and, you know, they're all, you know, they're not hand wired amplifiers or effects or anything like that. Does it mean they're not good? No, of course not. But you just can't compare it, because, you know, somebody takes the time to do everything by hand is just going to be of a different quality. You know, so what I would say to anybody who's wondering whether it's worth it to you know, buy a boutique instrument, boutique pedal, boutique amplifier, if you can afford it, give it a shot. You know, if there's no boutique places around, you know, make that drive, you know, make that long drive to a guitar shop that's 2 hours away and that has some, you know, really cool instruments that aren't sold in big stores, you know, and give it a shot. You may love it. You may love it. And, you know, make those sacrifices that you have to buy, you know, a really bitchin' instrument. You know, I think that it's worth a shot. You may pick up a boutique instrument and you'd be like, no, there's no way this is worth $2 grand. You know, this is just as good as my, you know, you know, Mexican Strat, or just as good as my lower tier Ibanez or whatever, you know, and I'll tell you what, you can get a boutique guitar for about $2 grand, and that's as much as an American Gibson costs, you know. And those are mass produced, you know. There's a lot of care put into those guitars for sure, made by really, really skilled workers, but it's not the same as a small company with a tiny amount of people just really putting a lot of love and passion into their guitars. I'm not saying that big companies don't put passion into their guitars. They do, 100%. But it's just different. That's all I'll say, is it's different. You know, it's different when, you know, I don't know many comparisons that I can make, but I will say it's worth it to get your hands on one and to try one out. It's totally worth it to plug into a boutique amplifier that costs over $2 grand. You know, it's a sound that is really, really special because it's all made by hand. Something that's handmade is just different than something that's mass produced. And that's all I'll say. Not that things that aren't mass produced aren't great. I'm filming this on an iPhone, and iPhones are incredible pieces of technology, but they're mass produced, you know? And, you know, how much would an iPhone cost if you were to make it here in the United States and it was all wired by hand? You know, these things would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But anyways, I digress. I've digressed this whole video, and it's just been a lot of rambling. But tell you what, is it worth it to get a boutique instrument? Absolutely. If you think it sounds great, if you think that that gets that tone that you have in your head, then absolutely go for it. Make that sacrifice. Save up for a really long time. And I tell you what, it's worth it to support those small companies as well. You know, supporting those small companies is something very special. You know, there's tons of large corporations that get our money. It's nice every once in a while to just take a good chunk of change and really give it to a small company that you believe in. And there's lots of great ones out there, lots of great companies. And I will say, as of now, I'm a Silktone Amps fan. I'm definitely going to save up to get one. And maybe I'll get a Nash guitar at some point. You know, I think they sound great. I was really impressed, but I can say 100%, I always wanted to get some Lawlor pickups. Definitely going to get some now. Those pickups just sound fantastic. And now, since I've tried those pickups, I'll get to talk about them in my pickup episode. And I look forward to having an episode about pickups pretty soon. There's going to be some cool episodes coming up here. There's going to be some shifts in the old guitar collection here, a new purchase, and maybe letting one of these guys go here as well to fund that new purchase. Might keep it, I don't know. But there's going to be some changes here, and I'm pretty excited about it. Also, I am going to be talking about my Fender GTX 100 modeling amplifier. I'm going to be talking about modeling amplifiers in general as well. So I hoped you liked this totally incoherent, babbling rant about boutique instruments. It was, you know, it just kind of my personal experience and probably wasn't very helpful or informative, but hey, I like to ramble. So anyways, thanks for coming to check out my channel. Thank you for checking out this video, and check out my other videos about other things, all about guitars, amps, and effects. And I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.